Are we ready? My name is Dr. Helen Uzamare. I am the Commissioner of Management Services. Can we just bow our heads in prayer, please? Father, Lord, as we gather together today, bless and guide the activities that have been lined up. Continue to bless our wonderful leader, Mayor Sean Patterson, especially as we go through all sorts of challenges within the city of Mount Vernon. So may this be a new leaf, the beginning of a brand new day with hopes and aspirations and harmony amongst us. Father, lead this session as we ask you to cover us and protect us in everything that we do today. In Jesus' name, amen.
Good evening. I'm Kristen Breeze Reed, the Grants and Partnership Compliance Officer for the City of Mount Vernon. Please rise and join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hey everyone, this is Senator Chuck Schumer, and I wish I could join everyone in Mount Vernon tonight for my dear friend Mayor Sean Patterson Howard's 2021 State of the City Address. Even so, I'm honored to say a few words tonight from Washington. With the many changes that this past year brought, I've worked closely with the City of Mount Vernon and your wonderful mayor to improve the lives of all city residents, to save the hospital and investing in public health, to help struggling families through stimulus checks, unemployment benefits, FEMA burial assistance, rent relief, and food stamps, to bring vaccines to Mount Vernon so we can overcome this crisis, and to make sure that communities of color were put at the top, not the bottom of the list as we distributed vaccines, to invest in childcare and public education, because every child in Mount Vernon has the right to go to school and learn, and to support our Mount Vernon small businesses, struggling restaurants, and the venues we love. And we also worked with our clergy leaders who lead us spiritually and socially to make sure churches and houses of worship could access federal relief funds, because places like Grace Baptist, Mount Vernon Heights Congregational Church, and Greater Centennial are at the very foundation of our communities, and I've fought hard to make sure that they would get funding. But tonight is also about looking forward. Right now, I'm working with the mayor and her administration on the American Jobs Plan to invest in places like Mount Vernon and give the residents the opportunities and good-paying jobs they deserve. By improving infrastructure and addressing the city's sewage crisis, expanding access to healthcare, creating good-paying jobs, increasing workforce development so we can have more good jobs for the people of this city, and strengthening education, childcare, and housing infrastructure in Mount Vernon. All the time I'm in Washington, I'm working for the people of Mount Vernon. So I wish our wonderful Mayor Patterson Howard and everyone in the audience a great night at the State of the City, and I look forward to working with all of you to make this next year a really good one.
Thank you, United States Senator Chuck Schumer, for the intro and the well wishes. It's good to know that our United States Senate Majority Leader is standing with Mount Vernon. Good evening, everyone. I want to thank you all for coming in person, tuning in, or watching a recording of tonight's delivery of the Mount Vernon 2021 State of the City. It has truly been an arduous journey to get where we've arrived tonight, but still, we've made it. This is an incredible moment. At the national, state, and local levels, we're in the midst of a historic post-COVID recovery and resiliency period, which would not have been possible without commitment and shared sacrifice. In Mount Vernon, despite the struggles and challenges we've dealt with in this past year, we've taken a lot of steps in the right direction. So this year, our theme is a commitment today for a stronger tomorrow. For the next hour, let's take a trip on how Mount Vernon has forged ahead in the face of insurmountable obstacles and challenges. During COVID, social distancing and gathering restrictions were imperative for us to maintain low infection rates and to keep the city safe. Months of sheltering in place and mandatory shutdowns made compliance more challenging and added an extra sense of urgency to address the quality of life issues since more people were home and experiencing the discomfort and inconvenience and danger of violations. Our solution was Operation Better Living, a three-pronged approach to tackling quality of life concerns and enforcing COVID guidelines. Through the coalition of leadership from the building, police, fire, IDA, Public Works, and the law department, we were able to keep Mount Vernon businesses open and avoid falling into yellow zone restrictions. Yellow zone restrictions were based on COVID hospitalization and positivity rates, and I'm proud to report that Mount Vernon was the only city in the entire county of Westchester to avoid the yellow zone. That's right. To date, over 20,000 Mount Vernon residents have been vaccinated, and new cases continue to drop into single digits each day. Mount Vernon, we've solved so many crises that have cropped up as a result of the global pause together. From providing nearly 2 million pounds of food to the hungry, to creating extracurricular activities for our kids who were languishing during lockdowns, to community cleanups, we've tried to restore the luster of our parks and our public spaces. We came through for each other. This was truly a team effort, and I want to acknowledge the community-based organizations, houses of worship, private sector partners, essential workers, and everyday Mount Vernon residents who sacrificed so we could make it through the sometimes overwhelming obstacles of this past year. We reinforced a powerful tenet. Our city functions best and only moves forward when we work together. Both the state and the fate of our city depend on our shared commitment to a stronger tomorrow. Mount Vernon is an ecosystem, a complex network of blocks and neighborhoods, renters and homeowners, residents and commuters, employers and customers rising and falling together, based on how well we collaborate and compromise. I'm going to say that again. We're going to rise and fall together based on how well we collaborate and compromise. The city's administration is a large component of this system, but it's only a part, depending on other complex, interdependent pieces to invest, interact, and contribute to the success and improvement of the quality of life. Responsible for providing the core critical services that Mount Vernonites rely on, the city has had to nestle and come together because our mettle has been tested. And we've proven that we're up to the task of keeping the city running even when our fuel tanks were empty. This past year, we've revealed just how much our residents depend on city services, and I'm proud of the ways in which our administration connected both within and across departments to keep our city going, even during the most bleak moments. Though called heroes, because that's what we saw the hero signs everywhere, our civil service workers didn't always feel like it. During the worst of times, they served on the front lines with grit, determination, and courage, and we quickly realized that Mount Vernon, like the rest of the world, was not prepared for what would arise from a global pandemic. We faced uncertainty, threats of a lack of protective equipment, and risked exposure daily to a deadly virus to provide basic services to our community. So while the world was pausing, we went to work. We went to work creating emergency plans and beefing up our Office of Emergency Management, standardizing operations, and planning for the establishment and opening of our long-delayed Emergency Operations Command Center. This was all to ensure that our city is prepared to handle future threats, no matter what type. These efforts made the year of triumph over tribulations, and we truly appreciate the work of all of our frontline workers in every department across the city. Please join me in a round of applause for all of them. Thank you so much. I'm honored to announce that I was selected as the second vice president for the African American Mayors Association. It's a tremendous opportunity to expand the reach of Mount Vernon to a national stage. I've been talking with key leaders in the federal government like Secretary Pete Buttigieg, Secretary Marcia Fudge of HUD. Secretary Pete Buttigieg is the Department of Transportation. Also EPA Administrator Michael Fegan and our Vice President Kamala Harris. I especially enjoyed connecting with the Director of the American Rescue Plan, Gene Sperling. Gene's mother was born and raised here in Mount Vernon, and that's a nice connection to have. I'm helping to shape the conversation on critical issues nationwide like sewer infrastructure, public safety, expanding green technologies and infrastructure, housing, workforce development, and healthcare. This is being done on a local and national scale. So speaking on healthcare, we've been fighting here in Mount Vernon to save our hospital. And as you know, we only have one hospital. It's an essential lifeline, particularly for our most vulnerable residents, who may not otherwise have access to quality health care. In the fall of '29, Montefiore Health System announced that it would close the hospital. We rallied and we began negotiating as soon as I assumed office. We supported a coalition of concerned residents and workers, including the New York State Nurses Association. We ramped up efforts to keep Mount Vernon Hospital through the harrowing first months of COVID. By working in partnership with the community, we were able to convince Montefiore to put its plans on hold, and we have even discussed expanding the services at Mount Vernon Hospital. Still, while talks are in the works, there have been no promises made, and we still have a long road to go to save our hospital and avoid the detrimental financial and health crisis that this closure would create. So Mount Vernon, we have to come together and continue to fight for the health and the welfare of our community. Another menacing issue brewing in the city is our antiquated sewer system. It's a problem more than 100 years in the making. The founders of this city never would have imagined our current population or the storm and wastewater needs, and the sewers are a physical reflection of that. 100 is a key number for the Herculean effort that it will take to repair and replace our aging system. You may have heard me mention it before. Our 100-year-old sewer system is over 100 miles of piping that must be overhauled. This is a project that is estimated to cost upwards of $150 million to complete. That's serious money, and we're going to come together and we're going to fight to get that money. Decades of disinvestment and the absence of financial forecasting for maintenance and repair have only accelerated and compounded the problems that have been materializing for years. Residents have experienced backups of solid waste in their homes, and the aged lines have resulted in the detection of fecal matter in reaching to our nearby Hutchinson and Bronx rivers. The Department of Public Works has labored over the years to repair the crumbling system, but limited equipment and staffing were equivalent to rearranging chairs on the deck of the Titanic. Although residents in the immediate area were grateful for the repairs, in the grand scheme of things, the surface of the issue has barely been scratched. This year, we purchased the necessary equipment, we began mapping sewer lines and repairing the EPA-cited locations. While there is a long road ahead to a fully functioning sewer system, we finally started the process. I've been working very closely with Senators Chuck Schumer, Senator Kirsten Gillibrand, and Congressman Jamal Bowman on seeking federal resources for our sewers. We have put in several $1 million worth of requests, which will hopefully lift the burden off of taxpayers. While there's a long road to a fully functioning sewer system, we finally started the process, and we've qualified for additional resources through the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation, which will provide technical assistance in mapping and creating the scope of work for this incredible project. Right. This is all about doing it together. DPW has made other major accomplishments this year. It had added GPS to the tracking of its fleet vehicles, supported the first tree ordinance in years. We've begun mapping potholes. and sewer lines for the first time ever. Yes, we know about the state of our roads, but we can't begin repaving them until we fully understand the condition underneath. As all city work is intertwined, DPW is coordinating inspections with the water department to ensure that the water mains are operative and paving will only have to be done once. That also means working with Con Edison to ensure that our gas lines and electric lines are also secure and that our streets are repaved from curb to curb. It's also why I've worked with our Public Works and Water Commissioners to plan nearly $10 million of funding to be spent over the next 3 years for street resurfacing. $10 million over the next 3 years. I think we can give a clap for that too. We can't talk about the streets without mentioning bridges. Mount Vernon's main arteries connecting all 4.4 square miles of our city have been cordoned off for years, delaying critical services, lengthening commute times, diminishing resident quality of life, affecting merchant revenue, and, of course, critically impacting public safety. Before my tenure as mayor, I've reiterated the importance of these overpasses to the MTA. They're the agency that is responsible for repairing and replacing these bridges. I was able to help negotiate an accelerated timeline for all bridge repairs. Both the 6th Avenue and 10th Avenue bridges have already been reopened, and I'm thrilled to report that the 3rd Avenue bridge is slated to open in the next month after being closed for more than a decade. That's going to be major. Look, I can finally go see my mother from South 3rd to North 3rd Avenue without taking a detour. I mean, that's major. I can just straight go to my mother's house. No detours. I must tout this as one of the most significant and proudest achievements since taking office. The restoration of the bridges not only increases walkability and health outcomes, it also increases accessibility to the hospital. It helps to repeal the notion of 2 Mount Vernons. That's what we know. Our railroad track has been the dividing line between the north and south of Mount Vernon. And so right now, we're literally uniting our city bridge by bridge, and we're bridging the divide. We're already in talks with the MTA about the reconstruction of the South Street and Fulton Avenue bridges as well. So in Mount Vernon, our bridges span train tracks and not bodies of water, making access to clean water an essential service, which our Board of Water Supply continues to improve upon. What we've uncovered over the past year and a half while improving our resident services was a financial situation in our water department that was a mess. Ledgers weren't completed, files were missing, reports were never filed with external agencies. For example, in August of 2019, $3 million was transferred out of the water department by the previous administration, even though the Board of Water Supply owed $2.4 million to the county for water. This action is still being investigated, but with the lack of information, slowing down efforts to track and complete understanding where these funds were spent, we're still moving ahead. One of the first things we did last year was to increase accountability and financial tracking of the Board of Water Supply. That meant new accounting software and updating decades-old servers that housed critical data. You may remember a hiccup in your water bill. Yeah, it was a little hiccup. We got phone calls, but we've since worked out the kinks. Nonetheless, we've completed the 2017 audit, we've closed our 2018 and 19 books, and through these efforts, the Board of Water Supply has improved significantly. We have very strong fiscal leadership, and the water department is in a good operational position. Over the last 18 months, our IDA has been working hard to recoup millions of dollars that were owed to the city. Yet, we are happy to report that we've recovered over $2.4 million in payments that were owed to the agency over the last year. I want to thank Dr. Darren Morton for being steadfast in recouping these monies. He was very diligent in ensuring that pilot money is not only tracked and accounted for in the city, but it's collected as well. We're still working through the 2019 audit as documents have been very difficult to track down. Still, we've continued to work around business development, and we believe that our actions have seen success and will see even greater success as we move forward. Mount Vernon is equally committed to revitalizing all areas of the city. I'm going to repeat that. We are committed to equitably reviving all areas of our city. This will be driven by economic development. Once again, the city of Mount Vernon has posted the highest sales tax growth for the state in the first quarter of 2021. Yes. We're outpacing our own estimates. In the last few months, we've done grand openings for 5 new businesses like Legal Funeral Homes, Butterfly, and Urban Gear Store, Los Antilles Produce, and Meat Market. All these are minority-owned businesses. We understand that Mount Vernon is the epicenter of Black and Brown-owned businesses in the county of Westchester. And the work that our IDA does to help support these MWBEs and all of our small businesses is critical to reimagining Mount Vernon. It's also important that we lift up our current business in the city, who is the backbone of our economy. We plan to deepen our support of city's local entrepreneurs by doing more business with them. We want to recycle money in Mount Vernon. The economic recession has left many businesses worried about the future. We're committed to reassuring building and reimagining the Mount Vernon business community. That means finalizing a new procurement policy to codify into the city charter. By doing this, we'll save taxpayer money and invest in Mount Vernon businesses across our city. We're working with the state, which has allocated $800 million towards small businesses. I've instructed our planning department and IDA to work with organizations like WEDC, SCORE, the Small Business Administration, LISC, and our local merchant associations to help the businesses apply for these funds. We have to hurry up because everyone is going after the same money. And so if you know of someone with a business that is struggling, please have them reach out to our planning department and our IDA to receive technical assistance in applying for these funds. Working together has been the foundation for this year's success, especially for our most challenging issues. As the nation sought police reform in the wake of murders against unarmed Black people at the hands of police, Mount Vernon had already begun the critical and crucial work of reforming public safety in our city. I pledged transparency and accountability in all city agencies and considered it my most important promise to the people of Mount Vernon. Changing the culture of the police department is a challenging process, but the leadership team, the community, and the officers are all working together to bolster integrity, transparency, and trust. Our police commissioner is changing the culture and direction of the department. We've investigated claims of officer misconduct. We've announced the results of our findings to the public, and we've referred some cases to the Westchester District Attorney for further review. And when our Westchester District Attorney, Mimi Roca, made the decision to call for a Department of Justice investigation, we supported the probe. We're all about transparency and ensuring that not only are our officers safe, but that our community is safe. Our PD has closed out cases at an 80% clearance rate. We've created a cold case unit to re-examine the outstanding cases and to bring closure and justice to families and victims. Towards the end of 2020, we launched a police reform commission that issued a comprehensive report in April with 43 recommendations for significant reform in the areas of transparency, accountability, policies, procedures, training, qualifications, recruitment and retention, community engagement, and equipment. This has been a comprehensive review of our policies and procedures and practices, and we're proud of the work done by this commission, and it represented a very diverse and inclusive cross-sector of our community. We're completely overhauling the department with a 21st century policing approach that promotes crime reduction while building public trust and treating residents with respect. We've added key reforms like officer wellness programs, new policies, youth leadership programs, lots of training, and retooling our community policing and violent crime units, along with new social, homeless, and mental health services for vulnerable residents. These are residents who need help, not interrogation. Our officers are learning how to play and teaching our children both yoga and chess. And for the first time in decades, we've advanced plans to bring back the PAL to Mount Vernon. The process is ongoing, but it's already bearing fruit. We've conducted our first police officer exam in 5 years, and we've received over 550 applications for the police department. I'm happy to report that nearly 175 of these individuals are Mount Vernon residents. Right, amazing. It's important that we have and we're able to recruit and retain Mount Vernon residents to patrol our streets. We've seen a rise in gun violence all across the country, and it's also happened in our community over the past year. And as a mayor, it is something that I'm committed to solving. I'm not just coming to work around gun violence. I've been working in this area for the past 15 years. Our police department has been able to take 131 guns off the street since January of 2020. That needs a clap. When many communities are not stopping and many departments are not engaging, our police department is not aggressive, but they are progressive in making sure that we're getting guns off the street. I've tasked my police department to come up with a new community-centered initiative to lead the charge in getting guns off the street. The Mount Vernon Police Department has launched the CORES program. CORES stands for Community, Organizations, Resources, and Environmental Solutions, knowing that ultimately is the community who must be engaged to eliminate crime. CORES is partnering with residents, neighborhood watch groups, community stakeholders, the school district, SNUG, city agencies, the Westchester County District Attorney, Alcohol, Tobaccos, and Firearms, or also known as ATF, federal agencies, the faith community, state and county police, and utilizes the direct resources of each stakeholder group. The CORES initiative engages with at-risk groups to eradicate violent crime, supports positive community building and crime prevention, and empowers all of the stakeholders of our community to be the change in our community. It's not about being a warrior and an advocate on social media, but we need our residents to come together with businesses, the faith community, and our police department to put boots on the ground to touch those who are most at risk in our community. And I'm proud to say that as we are beginning and growing, over the past 2 months, nearly 100 residents, organizations, and agencies have been meeting weekly to coordinate. We're looking forward to seeing all of our actions put into place over the next few weeks. This will include pop-up barbecues, youth activities and events, neighborhood walking, looking at community policing through environmental design, making sure that we're training our stakeholders on what to look for in the community. This is really important. To date, I'm happy to report that violent crime, which consists of homicides, rape, robbery, felony, assault, burglary, grand larceny, and grand larceny auto is down 20% year over year in Mount Vernon, with only grand larceny being up. This is a testament to the men and women of our police department and working with our community partners. Mount Vernon, I said all of the violent crime numbers were down except for the area of grand larceny auto. As I read the reports, I beg of you, please Do not leave your keys in the car with your car running when you're going into the store or you're doing something else. These are the reports that we're getting. People are leaving their keys in the car and they come out and their cars are gone. I'm also happy to announce a new partnership with the 9th Judicial District in the Mount Vernon City Court. The Emerging Adult Justice part of the Mount Vernon City Court is a new initiative established in the 9th Judicial District. The mission of the Mount Vernon Emerging Adult Justice part, or Emerging Adult Court, is to provide meaningful opportunities for resolving criminal cases by pursuing alternatives to incarceration, sentencing and incarceration for young people between the ages of 18 and 25. This is really important. As a staunch advocate of restorative justice in our community, this new initiative will help change the trajectory of lives of these emerging adults from a negative course of reoffending or criminal activity to positive experiences. This is accomplished by connecting them with services, resources, and opportunities through a collaborative effort involving public and private stakeholders to place these young adults on the path of success and self-autonomy. We want them to become productive members of the society. I invite you all to attend the kickoff of this court on June 18th at 12 p.m. on the steps of City Hall. In Mount Vernon, we must correct the decades of mass incarceration with new programs that aim to restore, not destroy the lives of young men and women in our community. Thank you to Chief Administrative Judge Kathy Davison, Judges Lyndon Williams, and Judge Nichelle Johnson for leading the way in getting things done here in Mount Vernon. Also, a special thank you to Joanne Dunn and the Youth Shelter of Westchester for serving as the Services Administrator for this initiative. What does that mean? We're going to have 75, 100 agencies doing mental health, substance abuse, job training, housing, life skills, so many partnerships to ensure that our young people have the robust level of support that they need to counteract some of the negative things that they encounter in the community. So let's pivot for a minute. How many people in this room have a computer or a cell phone that's over 25 years old? I'm looking. In the basement, in the garage, in the backyard, storage? Okay. Well, the city of Mount Vernon has servers and computers that are older than some of the staff in my office. This is true. However, we have some good news on the technology front. This past year showed how important technology is for our city. I hired a forward-thinking management services commissioner whose focus has been on IT. She's delivered results. Our advancements in technology have picked up